Lu Mengqi has a wealthy family, but lacks parental care. At the age of 27, he was framed and fell into disrepute. As the truth was about to be revealed, she unexpectedly fell from a building and, at a critical moment of life and death, traveled through time and space back to the Heavenly Dynasty, becoming the second miss of the Prime Minister's mansion. I thought it was an ordinary journey, but unexpectedly it involved the bond between the royal family and the Fox family for thousands of years. The female protagonist, relying on her own intelligence, gradually recovers her skills, clarifies her thoughts, and goes through 5 levels to slay 6 generals. She first regains the 4 small countries, and then severs her ties with the Heavenly Kingdom. Faced with the choice between love and family, she resolutely chooses family relationships. Lu Mengqi, you and I have a marriage contract. Whether you are human or immortal, you are my empress, the empress of this dynasty. Lin Shufeng, remember, I, Lu Mengqi, can be a 10-tailed heavenly fox, the second lady of the Lu Xiang mansion, but not your queen. I have paid off my past life grievances and present life retribution. Leng Zimo, if there's a chance, next time, let me help you. Wake up again, it's in the hospital. Lu Mengqi stared at the ceiling, as if everything was a dream. The truth came to light. Lu Mengqi resumed his position, and Song Yuyan was taken away by the police. She looked at Lu Mengqi in fear, unable to believe that she would wake up. At a cocktail party, Lu Mengqi drank the wine in her glass in frustration, memories flooding her heart. She pushed open the door to the rooftop and walked alone on the railing wall of the rooftop. Suddenly, a figure approached, and Lu Mengqi was stunned for a few seconds. At the moment when she regained her senses, she smiled at him. Under the soft moonlight, Lu Mengqi let out a silver-white tail. He said to her, "Don't put away your fox tail yet." Chapter 1. Crisis. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Stop, don't run. A group of security guards were desperately chasing after a woman in a red dress and high heels running wildly in the crowd ahead. Half an hour ago, she enthusiastically introduced her company's latest skincare products to everyone at a cocktail party. This was the result of Lu Mengqi's research, which took a whole 5 years. She tried countless times and confirmed that there would be no problems before releasing it. How could a few masked women suddenly appear at the press conference, saying that her product had problems, and together with the market supervisor, they presented proof that her skincare products seriously exceeded the lead and mercury standards, and false advertising. At the age of 27, after graduating for 4 years, all the research results were gone at once. Hiding on the top floor of the company, as night fell, Lu Mengqi quietly looked up at the sky. Suddenly, she thought of something. Could it be Song Yuyan? Lu Mengqi dialed Song Yuyan's phone. 10 minutes later, the door to the rooftop opened and a beautiful woman wearing a white dress with a low ponytail and wearing the same black high heels walked over. Lu Mengqi looked up and down at her and slowly spoke up. "Song Yuyan, if you like the shoes on my feet, let me know and I'll give them to you." As she spoke, Lu Mengqi took off the shoes and threw them directly at Song Yuyan. "Oh, Valentino, these are imitation crystals." Song Yuyan couldn't help but grip her skirt tightly, her face turning pale. She didn't expect Lu Mengqi to see it at a glance. The most embarrassing thing was that she didn't even notice it. "Damn Chiu Wensi, he dared to give me fake goods. Lu Mengqi, do you know where you are the most annoying? It's your aloof feeling, thinking that everyone is going to hold you and surround you." Song Yuyan was emotionally agitated, as if her tone was louder, which could conceal her guilty and false side that was revealed. She didn't understand why Lu Mengqi could always easily obtain what she had put in so much effort to obtain, and even disdained it. Apart from being inferior to Lu Mengqi in terms of family background, she couldn't imagine where she would lose. Her face and education were also impressive. When she saved money for a year in order to buy her desired bag, and worked countless part-time jobs day and night, she got a bag. Lu Mengqi casually threw the hot handbag in her hand to her roommate Wang Qiqi. Her countless possessions, and her indifference, were stimulating Song Yuyen's heart. Why is it that some people are born with good luck? So, Song Yuyen, are you going to falsely accuse me? Lu Mengqi sat on the edge of the rooftop, looking down at the vast abyss downstairs. The screen of his phone was still on, and Lu Mengqi placed it next to him. Do you have any evidence? Lu Mengqi, what evidence do you have to prove that I did it? I looked at the surveillance footage in the basement, and you think if you delete the surveillance footage in the mall, I won't be able to see it anymore. Those women took your money from the underground parking lot, and I don't think you expected them to greedily come to you again. So, did you come to the company at night to delete the surveillance footage in the parking lot? Unfortunately, I was one step faster than you. Lu Mengqi smiled and shook his phone. Song Yuyen was clearly in a panic. She didn't expect Lu Mengqi to hide at the company. What should she do now? Lu Mengqi, just one surveillance can explain something. I'm just giving them some compensation on behalf of the company. Your surveillance doesn't explain anything. Song Yuyen can only grit her teeth and refuse to admit it. She wanted to trample on Lu Mengqi for a full 7 years. From her sophomore year, Lu Mengqi took away the opportunity to study at Liyuanya, and she hated her. Lu Mengqi definitely relies on family connections. Even though her grades are first, why did she end up with Lu Mengqi? Song Yuyen, you still haven't changed. When I met you in college, you were like this. You thought others could surpass you because of your family background. Why, your family makes you so incompetent. So you've been learning from me. Do you just like me so much? Lu Mengqi watched as Song Yuyen went from feeling guilty and panicked to angry, with the corners of her mouth rising. She was about to succeed. When you were in college, you secretly tried on my clothes, carried my bag, used my lipstick, and hooked up with Chiu Wensi. Can I be considered a little help? Lu Mengqi. You're talking nonsense. Song Yuyen was so angry that she was about to go crazy. She was feeling guilty and angry, and Lu Mengqi always casually exposed others' grievances, so everything she did was right. Chiu Wensi is nothing, this is just a stepping stone on her path to success. How could she be impressed by the son of a small business owner? Besides, even a pair of shoes worth over 10,000 yuan were given fake by her. Song Yuyen, do you know why Chiu Wensi is not willing to buy real for you? He doesn't have money, but you can't even distinguish between real and fake, so you can use whatever you're in. Do you understand? Lu Mengqi. Starting from today, I'll have you underfoot. Song Yuyen roared as she took off her shoes and threw them down the rooftop. So, it was you who infiltrated the illegal products and acted with those women from the very beginning of promoting and distributing trial products. By the way, you had close contact with Director Wu of the Market Supervision Administration a while ago. Do you think so? Lu Mengqi thought of something and gave a disdainful smile. Coincidentally, this action completely shattered Song Yuyen's heart. Lu Mengqi. Stop talking. Even if it's me, it's okay. You're done, no matter how powerful your family is, this is Jinghai. It's not Linen City. Who can help you? Song Yuyen laughed wildly. At this moment, she didn't want to hide anything anymore. Anyway, after Lu Mengqi is finished, she wants to take over his position and become the new manager of Liyuanya. I finally admit it, right? Lu Mengqi slowly picked up his phone and turned off the recording. The corners of her mouth were raised, it was not in vain for her to spend half a day talking. You actually recorded. Song Yuyen panicked and quickly approached to grab her phone. If Lu Mengqi announced the recording, she would be finished. Her life would be finished. She had worked hard for so long, even sacrificing herself, she couldn't. Song Yuyen stepped forward to grab the phone, but Lu Mengqi didn't expect the soft and weak white lotus to exert such great strength at this moment. Lu Mengqi protected the phone and couldn't let her steal it. Lu Mengqi, you forced me, don't blame me. Song Yuyen's eyes were gloomy. At this moment, Mengqi was fiercely pushed by Song Yuyen and fell directly from the rooftop. 58th floor. Mengqi looked at Song Yuyen incredulously. To her surprise, she was going to kill me. Mengqi closed her eyes in despair. She still had unfinished wishes. Mengqi, goodbye forever. Song Yuyen's fierce expression, with a raised corner of her mouth, revealed that you were hiding in the company and no one knew. After speaking, Song Yuyen turned around and left. Her affairs had not yet been resolved. Mengqi was extremely desperate, holding his phone tightly in his hand. Suddenly, a dazzling light shone, and Mengqi felt like he had lost his center of gravity, drifting away, and then fell asleep. Chapter 2. Rebirth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After an unknown amount of time, Mengqi felt a splitting headache. He tried to open his eyes and vaguely saw a strange face staring at him. Who was this? Master, Madam, Miss Eyre and Miss Eyre are awake. Miss Eyre is awake. It's really awake. Who is shouting? It's so noisy. Miracle, this is. My pulse just stopped, and now my pulse is stable and everything is fine. Why is there still a man's voice? It sounds like an old man. Mengqi is working hard to regain her consciousness. She must hold her phone to prove her innocence. Song Yuyen, don't think I will let you go. 58th floor, you push whenever you say, it's really despicable. Wait, 58th floor. Am I not dead? Mengqi suddenly sat up and pinched his face. It's okay, he lifted his leg and didn't break it. His arm can also move. Am I actually okay? What about my phone? Mengqi lifted the blanket, didn't he? What cup is this? What is this? How could there be an old man in ancient costume? Cheer. A lady with a beautiful face and dressed in fancy clothes walked in, excitedly hugging Mengqi. Mengqi was suddenly startled and pushed away the woman in front of her. Who are you? Mengqi asked with a puzzled expression, her eyes wide open. What situation is this? Dreaming. Filmed. Cheer, I'm your mother. What's wrong with you? The lady in front of her was tearful, her eyes filled with tenderness as she looked at Mengqi. What's going on? Mengqi held down her temples with both hands and had a severe headache. Is this a dream? Am I in a dream, but I pinched myself and didn't wake up? Dr. Li, what's wrong with you, little girl? The man in front of me, with a majestic figure and a dignified appearance. Although this beard doesn't look very pleasing to the eye, it doesn't hinder its appearance. Mr. Liu, don't worry. Miss Eyre was frightened when she fell into the water, and she should recover in a few days. Now, she needs to take good care of her body. This disaster is truly blessed by heaven. Miss Eyre is blessed with great fortune, and I still need to go and report to the Emperor. Thank you for your hard work, Dr. Li. Lu Zilan's face was full of worry, and now he finally felt a sense of peace. He turned to look at Mengqi, his eyes full of worry. This daughter has been weak since she was young, unable to live without soup and medicine for a long time. She doesn't like to interact with people and spends her days in the house reading and writing, or sitting in the yard daydreaming. It was not easy for her to swim on the lake with her family, but she ended up falling into the lake and almost lost her life. Xiangye, I'm leaving now, said Dr. Li, carrying the medicine box in his hand and walking out. Cheer, this time it's your great fortune. If you don't want to go out in the future, Dad won't force you. You can see for yourself. Lu Zilan patted Mengqi's shoulder, tears flashing in his eyes. That kind of suppressed heartache, Mengqi didn't know what to say for a moment. If it was really time travel, then these two in front of him would be the parents at this time. Oh my God, is this writing a novel? What's up, time travel? Rebirth after death plus time travel. Okay, If that's the case, take a break first and then find a way to put it back on. Well, I'm tired, why don't you go back first? Mengqi looked at the two people in front of him and didn't know what to say. Well. Dad, Mom, I'm really okay, I just want to sleep for a while. Okay, that's okay. Let's go out first. Xiaoxi, please inform Honor and Chair in the room and come see Miss Air tomorrow. Mrs. Lu looked at Mengqi in front of her, wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes, and looked at her with tenderness. Honor and Chair went to the temple to burn incense and pray for blessings, and they were also worried about Cheer, Lu Zilan said while helping his wife walk outside. Xiaoxi, Xiaoyun, take good care of Miss Air. Master, don't worry, the maids know. Xiaoxi and Xiaoyun bowed, and both the Lord and Lady of the Land Department went out. Mengqi lay down, staring at the top of the bed in a daze. Oh my goodness, should I thank you? My head hurts so much. Chapter 3. Opening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the palace, standing on the city wall at this moment, Lin Shufeng looked down at the wall. The sunlight shone on his fair and smooth face, with sharp edges and deep black eyes, exuding a charming color. He had thick eyebrows, a tall nose, and a stunning lip shape. His whole body exuded nobility, but his face was tense, making it difficult to approach. Hai Lan looked at the man in front of her. This man was not only her lover, but also her life-saving benefactor. She secretly swore in her heart that she would follow him for her whole life, even if she stood behind him and looked at him like she does now. You're here. The voice was cold and deep, like 1,000 years of ice. Your Majesty, I have already taken care of the matter you have entrusted. The Song Mansion has arranged for the internal line of Duyu, and we have already found out when to start. We are still waiting for your notification. After Hai Lan finished speaking, she looked at Lin Zifeng and wished that his gaze could stay on her, even for a moment. But what he gave her will always be just a silhouette. Don't take any action for now, you go back first. At this moment, a eunuch walked over not far away. Your Majesty, why are you here? The Empress Dowager should be unhappy again soon. The Empress Dowager invites you to have lunch together and also discusses your marriage. I will take my leave first. The Emperor's marriage was left by Hai Lan, feeling lost. Due to his own identity, it was destined that he would not be able to do so. I know. Lin Zifeng glanced at the city again, feeling sad in the cold light. Today is the day of her mother's death, and it was on this city wall that her mother jumped down. Everyone said she was the guilty woman who plotted against the crown prince, and she committed suicide in fear of guilt. Lin Shufeng closed his eyes, and there was no expression on his face except for coldness. But his hands trembled slightly because they were held too tightly. In an instant, he adjusted his state and everything returned to its original state. Your Majesty, I heard you went to the city gate this morning. Is it because of the death of Consort Yi? The Empress Dowager said, picking up a lotus seed and putting it in her mouth. My son just wanted to have some fresh air and walk around casually. Mother doesn't need to think too much. At this moment, Lin Zifeng was no longer as cold as before, and there was no expression in his eyes. The AI family was originally thinking about the taste of this lotus seed, but today this lotus seed is a bit bitter. Xiaoyingzi, tell the Imperial Kitchen that there is no need for this dish in the future. The Empress Dowager finished speaking and put down her chopsticks. If the Empress Dowager doesn't like it, you can try this dish. It's a new dish made in the Imperial Kitchen. The lotus root is fresh, sweet, crispy, and refreshing in the current season. The name of this dish is Mother and Son Together. Lin Zifeng personally picked a piece and placed it in the Empress Dowager's bowl. The Empress Dowager regained her previous smile. Your Majesty has really put in a lot of effort. By the way, regarding your marriage, although it was arranged by the previous emperor to betroth the youngest daughter of the Lord's mansion to you, it was already 10 years ago. These years have passed, and the Lord has not mentioned it. However, if you don't like it, you can cancel the marriage. Empress Dowager, when the late emperor fought, it was Lu Qianhao who blocked an arrow on behalf of the late emperor. In gratitude for his life-saving kindness, he specially appointed his son Lu Zilan as prime minister and betrothed his granddaughter to his courtiers. If the marriage were to be cancelled, the ministers might have to discuss it again. Lin Shufeng knew that the Empress Dowager did not want the daughter of the prime minister to enter the palace. The prime minister was upright and just, and his father, Lu Qianhao, was a great hero in the past, so he had a considerable reputation in the court. If he were to marry the prime minister, it would greatly increase his influence in the court. So, no matter what, he will marry Lu Mengqi. After 7 years as a puppet emperor, we must start taking action. That being said, you came to me at the age of 9 and became the crown prince at the age of 10. When the late emperor passed away, you were only 12 years old. We are orphans and widows, and the 4 countries are watching closely. If it weren't for General Song's protection and support, how could the country be stable? Now, he has written a letter to seek personal favor for his daughter, hoping to enter the palace as a concubine. Empress Dowager, my son has not married in the main palace, so how can I take in the concubine first? For the past 2 years, the prime minister has been refusing to accept the concubine, saying that Lu Mengqi's health is not good and he wants to postpone the marriage. Now, Dr. Li has reported that Lu Mengqi's health is not seriously affected. My son thinks that the marriage can still be put on the agenda. As for the matter of taking the concubine, we can discuss it later. Lin Shufeng knew the Empress Dowager's intentions. General Song was the Empress Dowager's younger brother, who had been in power with the Empress Dowager in recent years. If he remarried the daughter of the Song family, he would really have to live his life as a puppet emperor. Your Majesty, you are now 20 years old. At your age, the late emperor already had 4 sons. Not only did you have no offspring, but there was no one in the vast harem. Yu Yan is the daughter of General Song, and also your cousin. She even called me auntie. If the Lu family is delaying their marriage, you must accept Yu Yan as their consort. That's the deal. After finishing speaking, the Empress Dowager stood up and said, the AI family is going to have a lunch break. Is there anything else the emperor has to do? I won't disturb my mother there, so I'll leave, Lin Shufeng said. He turned around and left, putting away the smile from the corner of his mouth, his face returning to its original state with a cold expression. Chapter 4. Doubts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After lunch, under the shade of a tree, Lu Mengqi sat on a lounge chair in the yard, with a handkerchief in his hand covering his face. The second miss of the Lu family is also quite able to enjoy it, but she has the same name as me. It's hard not to say that our Lu family was really a high-ranking official or a prime minister in ancient times. It's really nice. Recalling sitting in front of a bronze mirror in the morning, looking at my own appearance, oh my God, isn't this my 18-year-old self? This journey was so worthwhile. Not to mention entering the prime minister's mansion, I was still 9 years younger. However, when I was 18 years old, I was 7 or 8 pounds heavier than my current self. How could this ancient self be so weak? It's okay, is there still a shortage of food and drink in this prime minister's mansion? Just make up for it. Xiaoxi, go and get me some food. Lu Mengqi took off the handkerchief on his face and looked at Xiaoxi standing next to him with a sleepy expression on his face. Miss, your mouth is basically not idle today. You'll need some pastry, some chicken legs, and some grapes. You've changed your stomach. Xiaoxi muttered, since the young lady woke up, except for amnesia, her whole body feels like it has changed. Apart from her appearance not changing, her speech and temperament have also changed, and she is particularly good at eating. The amount of food we ate at the table just now stunned the master and his wife. This young lady's body is really recovering quickly. She almost died a few days ago. I used to drink ginseng soup without leaving my mouth, and my health has always been bad. Suddenly, I feel better, which is really strange. By the way, Xiaoxi, make me another cup of tea, said Lu Mengqi as she sat up and turned to look at Xiaoyun. Xiaoyun, come over here. I have something to ask you. What's going on, miss? Xiaoyun was just covering her mouth and giggling. Seeing the young lady suddenly become serious, she felt a bit at a loss for a moment. The young lady changed her face so quickly. I have something I want to ask you. Didn't I have amnesia? When did I fall into the water? Also, was I almost dead when I was rescued? Lu Mengqi was thinking, if it were her, the timing was right, then she was on the brink of death, and the second miss of the Prime Minister's mansion was also in the same situation. So she happened to be at that time, did her souls exchange? Although scientific explanations are not clear, in the current situation, we still need to think about how to go back in the future. After all, besides waiting to clarify oneself, we also have to save Dad's company. Miss, you fell into the water at 8 o'clock the day before yesterday because it was dark and everyone was joking on the boat. You just wanted to be alone and breathe some air. After Xiaoyun finished speaking, she remembered that the young lady was very strange that day. She said that after lunch, all the young ladies would leave, and the young lady insisted on waiting until the end of the day to see the night scenery. The old lady has always favored the young lady, so she did not refuse, just let Xiaoxi accompany her. But halfway through, the young lady insisted on going out on her own, and soon after, there was news of the young lady falling into the water. It's all so strange. At that time, after seeing a doctor, they all said they were powerless to recover. Even if the palace sent an imperial physician, there was no way. However, the next day, the young lady suddenly woke up and was full of energy. Apart from not remembering anything, her health improved. Oh, that's right. Lu Mengqi checked the time, and it was basically right. It was about 15 minutes away, which means that if he wanted to go back, he might have to die again. But if he didn't, his life would be gone now. Sigh. Miss, are you really not feeling any discomfort now? Xiaoyun is still worried about Mississippi. Do you think I have a problem? Lu Mengqi smiled. It seems that the second lady of the Prime Minister's mansion used to have really bad health. Cheer. Mrs. Lu walked over, with not only a maid but also a Taoist behind her. Mom, you're here. Who is this? Lu Mengqi looked at the Taoist behind him. The Taoist was at least 60 years old and his beard was graying. This is Master Qingxiu, here to see you. Mrs. Lu looked around. Xiaoyun, you go down first. I have something to tell Miss Air. Yes, Xiaoyun bowed and avoided first. In the pavilion, Master Qingxiu gave Lu Mengqi a pulse. Lu Mengqi looked puzzled, while Mrs. Lu looked worried. Madam, don't worry. The poison in Mrs.'s body has been detoxified. It's really a blessing. Master Qing was also very strange. Although he had put in a lot of effort to prepare pills to help Miss Air detoxify in the past 6 months, the cold poison had already invaded her body and it was impossible to recover. Poisoned. Lu Mengqi widened his eyes, surprisingly having been poisoned. What have these two young ladies gone through? How could Miss Air be so surprised? Master Qing was surprised. Master Qingxiu, the little girl has lost her memory since she fell into the water. Most of the past things have been forgotten, Mrs. Lu said. No, mother, have I ever been poisoned before? What's going on? Lu Mengqi really had 10,000 questions in his heart. Cheer, you suddenly fainted 6 months ago, and the imperial physicians were all at a loss. It was the emperor's secret order to have Master Qingxiu treat you. Mrs. Lu's face was full of sadness. Miss Air is now in good condition. I will send someone to deliver some nourishing pills regularly. If there are no other matters, I will leave first. Zhaofu, come over and see off Master Qing, Mrs. Lu said to the girl behind her. Yes, Zhaofu left with Master Qingxiu. Cheer, I have one more thing to tell you. You have an engagement with the current emperor. Last year, due to your sudden poisoning, your engagement was delayed, and now your health is in good condition. It is estimated that the emperor will soon issue an order to complete the marriage. However, your father and I have discussed that if you do not like it, we will request to withdraw. We do not ask you to bring infinite glory to your mother's family, but we hope you can live a safe and smooth life. Mrs. Lu held Lu Mengqi's hand, her eyes filled with tears. Lu Mengqi thought of his mother. The lady in front of him was very different from his mother. His mother was often too busy with company matters to care about her, and although she had been carefree since childhood, she did not feel much family care. Even working hard and becoming excellent was just because she wanted more attention from her parents. Mom, don't worry about me. I'm not doing well. Besides, why resist the imperial decree and refuse to marry? This will affect my father. Lu Mengqi comforted the mother of this era. First of all, there was no need to worry. He had also seen the world in modern times and wouldn't be afraid of anything. Besides, being an empress, the mother of a country, always dreams of experiencing it. There's no need to spend money on going to Hengdian to experience it. In reality, there weren't many beautiful emperors in this ancient era, right? If they weren't, could they get married? Cheer, you've been saying that all along. You're so sensible and always thinking for the Lu family, Mrs. Lu said as she wiped away tears from the corners of her eyes. Mom, don't be sad. I asked Xiaoxi to bring some food over and pour some tea. You can eat with me, Lu Mengqi said with a smile. You girl, when you wake up, it feels like you've changed your appetite. Mrs. Lu smiled indulgently. Chapter 5. Entering the Palace. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, Lu Mengqi woke up and sat in front of the dressing table. Xiaoxi and Xiaoyun were combing Lu Mengqi's hair while inserting hairpins one by one on the left and the other on the right. Miss is really beautiful. Since she survived the disaster, Miss has become more and more vibrant and beautiful, Xiaoxi said with a smile. Of course, besides Miss, there's nothing in the city that can compare to Miss Air, said Xiaoyun, as she turned around to spread some incense powder for Miss Air. Alright, you guys are really good at flattering. Besides, how can I compare to my sister? Lu Mengqi thought about Lu Jingyan's impeccable appearance. Oh, it's so tiring to have so many things stuck in your head. Come on, I'll do it myself. I've been researching various fashion magazines countless times, said Lu Mengqi as she pulled out the excess hairpin from her head. Miss, what did you just say, what magazine? Xiaoxi looked at Lu Mengqi in question. Even if I say it, I don't understand. It's okay, I'll talk to you slowly in the future. Lu Mengqi gestured with his headdress and selected 2 hairpin rings. The most important thing in the palace was the kind of wealthy and magnificent woman, so everything was simple and elegant, as long as it was appropriate and generous. Yesterday, I was suddenly called to the study by Lu Zilin, saying that I need to go to the palace to see the Emperor and Empress Dowager today. It is said that this mother-in-law daughter-in-law relationship is the most difficult. I don't know if this is even more so in ancient times. After all, ancient people's thinking was more feudal. Lu Mengqi followed the eunuch from the palace, accompanied by a large group of guards. In an instant, Lu Mengqi felt a little excited. This was not filming. I'll see the emperor soon. Please give me a big handsome guy. Lu Mengqi lifted the curtain of the carriage and took a look at the ancient streets. They were quite clean, with an ancient city flavor that was much better than modern ancient cities with tourist environments nowadays. They have all become consumer markets. At this moment, in a tea house on the 2nd floor, a man in white looked up at the carriage. After entering the palace, there was an ant standing at the city gate waiting, followed by 2 rows of people. Such a big show, Lu Mengqi, the appearance was good, and I secretly felt happy. Miss Lu, the Empress Dowager is already waiting at the Orchid Pool Hall. Follow me quickly. The aunt who spoke had a serious expression on her face, which made it difficult to provoke at first glance. Mengqi thought about the aunts and elders in the ancient costume dramas. There were not many good things to be careful of. No, auntie, wasn't it summoned by the emperor? Mengqi asked cautiously. Miss Lu, this is what the Empress Dowager means. You can ask the Empress Dowager, I don't know. This is indeed not easy to provoke, but Mengqi thought for a moment and said, forget it, I can't afford to provoke. This palace is really big, Mengqi sighed as she looked at it. In the present, half of the entire palace is hers. Just collecting rent is money that can never be spent in a lifetime. Doing some business, how impressive the royal family is in doing business. Mengqi couldn't help but laugh at these thoughts. This is not a daydream. Miss Lu, don't look around when walking, after all, it's easy to twist your feet if you're not focused. Sure enough, these unpleasant words are really uncomfortable to say from the mouths of unattractive people. Mengqi's heart was filled with 10,000 blank eyes. At least in modern times, I can be considered a semi-successful woman. Being falsely accused halfway through a press conference is not considered semi-successful. After being reborn, I am still a novice and everything starts from scratch. Auntie, don't worry. If you walk ahead, you'll have to worry even more about your feet, said Che, not being angry with you. Empress Dowager, Miss Lu brought her here. The girl in front of me suddenly changed her face, which was too differential. At least she was the second young lady of the Prime Minister's mansion, let alone the possibility of becoming an empress in the future. Zhuye, go down first. Mengqi, come over and let the AI family take a look. Mengqi then looked at the woman in front of him. Wearing bright yellow clothes embroidered with golden thread and auspicious cloud patterns, adorned with large and bright peonies, it looks very luxurious, and wearing a phoenix crown and rosy robe made of jewels on her head. Isn't this outfit just a walking RMB? My daughter Mengqi, please see the Empress Dowager. Mengqi felt secretly pleased and watched the ancient costume drama in vain. Hurry up, good child. Let the AI family take a look. I heard about you falling into the water a few days ago, and the AI family is worried about it. Now their body is doing well. The Empress Dowager looked at the girl in front of her. Half a year ago, she was still sick, but now she doesn't seem to be in any serious condition. Her complexion is much better, and she doesn't seem like a dying person. Report to the Empress Dowager, my daughter is now in good condition. Thank you very much for your concern. Mengqi lowered his head. It was better not to look at the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager appeared kind, but there was a bit of calculation between her eyebrows. After all, she had lived for 27 years, and although she is now 18 years old, she still has experience. Come forward. The Empress Dowager gestured for Mengqi to come forward and handed her a box. Come, open it and take a look. The Empress Dowager smiled, looking like a loving mother. Mengqi opened the box and found a golden hairpin with 9 tails, which was not only suitable for empresses to wear. Mengqi was greatly surprised. Empress Dowager, this is too valuable. When the AI family was granted the title of Empress, this golden hairpin was a reward from the previous emperor. Soon, you will become the wife of the AI family and the empress of the entire dynasty. Your current attire is too plain and quiet. Thank you, Empress Dowager. Mengqi originally wanted to say that he liked it, but let's not discuss aesthetics with this Empress Dowager. However, one thing you need to remember is that you are the first woman in this harem, but by no means the last. Throughout history, rulers have had 3 palaces and 6 courtyards, and emperors are no exception. You must remember. Yes, I know. Hey, I haven't even entered yet, so I thought about giving the emperor a woman. It doesn't matter, as long as I'm the eldest one, I just want to experience life. Looking at this Empress Dowager, she is only around 40 years old, so the emperor should not be old either. Mengqi has already started to look forward to it. Xiaoyingzi, take Miss Lu around. The emperor will be meeting with the minister now, and will take Miss Lu over later. The Empress Dowager greeted the eunuch beside her as she spoke. I'll comply, Miss Lu, please come this way. The Empress Dowager, please leave, my daughter. Mengqi bowed and followed Xiaoyingzi out. It's really tiring in ancient times. You have to bow at any moment, and your shoulders and neck ache. As soon as Mengqi left the palace gate, he shook his shoulders and was really scared. Xiaoyingzi, which palace is the emperor in? Can you take me directly there? The emperor is in the Qianlu palace. Miss, I forgot. You went there twice last year. Xiaoyingzi looked puzzled. Although Miss Lu from the Lu family had seen her twice, this time it felt like she had changed someone else. Apart from her appearance, her speech and overall demeanor had changed. Oh, that's serious illness, amnesia. Mengqi looked helpless, really can't remember. Ah, I remember, it's the Qianlu Palace. Alright, you go ahead and get busy. I'll take a stroll in the garden and go there by myself later. But the Empress Dowager instructed the servants to serve the girl. Xiaoyingzi looked puzzled. Alright, just follow me with this Yahuan. If there's anything, I'll just ask her. Mengqi wanted to quickly get rid of the little eunuch in front of him. At first glance, this eunuch appeared to be the person in front of the Empress Dowager, and he was sure that he would make a fool of himself later and let him learn to speak. It was better to keep his guard open. This palace maid was serving outside the door, so she should not be considered the Empress Dowager's confidant. Since that's the case, Chuier, please take good care of the girl and don't make any mistakes. By the way, Miss Lu, the palace is too big, don't get lost. You can stroll around this garden and come to see you when the emperor is finished with his work. Okay, let's go busy with my father. Law, I'll just take a stroll. Finally, let's get some air. Mengqi looked up and saw what a big garden it was. It's good to stay in such a place for a while, but there are many things that need to be clarified right now. Why do you get poisoned? First of all, exclude your own family members. The love of your parents cannot be portrayed. Your sister has a gentle temperament, and your younger brother is still young and foolish. Would Lu Jinghan be jealous because I have an engagement with the emperor? No, it doesn't look like it. Looks too much. Forget it, I don't think much about it. I'm still looking forward to the emperor's appearance at the moment. Qianlu Hall. Chuier, I can't quite remember the road to Qianlu Hall. What direction is it heading towards? Mengqi asked the little maid in front of her, who looked like she was only 15 or 16 years old. She was so young that she had to come out to do things. Most ancient women were born to determine their fate. Miss, go through this garden and walk 200 meters forward, then turn right and walk another 100 meters to get there. Chuier pointed in the direction ahead as she spoke. Oh, there, it looks quite big around here. There should be many interesting places, so I'll just take a walk. Mengqi thought, in such a big place, you can only see some palace maids and eunuchs. As the Empress Dowager said, she was the first. So the emperor really doesn't have a concubine yet, that's okay. Does the emperor have any illness? How can you estimate? The emperor is not small either. No, you can't ask the girl in front of you either, because theoretically, the body you are currently occupying has seen the emperor before. Oh, there is really no impression in your mind. Thinking about it, Mengqi was just thinking about turning left through the garden when she was stopped by Chuier. Miss, there isn't much space here anymore. Let's go to the front of the garden. There's also a lotus pond, and the koi inside are so beautiful. Chuier's face was clearly a bit flustered. But I see, there seems to be a palace not far away, it's quite big. Miss, that place is already a forbidden area, so don't go there. Forbidden area, why? Did something happen before? Chui'er said, which aroused Lu Mengqi's curiosity. Forbidden area. Is it a place where something big happened, or according to the general plot, it could be the palace of a certain princess who had an accident and was sealed off? I only heard that it was the place where Empress Yi used to live. Later, when Empress Yi died, that place was sealed off and no one was allowed to approach, Chui'er explained. Is it the consort of the late emperor? Is something wrong? Lu Mengqi thought to himself, if it were a normal death, there wouldn't be a palace closure, so there must be something wrong. Other things, I don't know. I clearly felt Chui'er panicked. Forget it, I probably can't ask anything now, and I don't think about it anymore. Chui'er, there is a pavilion there. I want to have a rest. You can go to the end of the tea and dim sum. Okay, girl, then you just sit and wait for me, Chui'er said and turned around to leave. Lu Mengqi thinks this little girl is really easy to coax. I don't want to sit still. I want to go see the emperor. Tianlu Hall. Lu Mengqi looked up and saw that it was ahead. He walked straight over. The guards in front of the door all knew Lu Mengqi. At this moment, a eunuch saw Lu Mengqi and hurriedly walked over. Why did Miss Lu come here on her own? Didn't she wait in the Empress Dowager's palace first? I'm waiting here for the emperor to handle the matter before going to disturb you. The eunuch in front of me looked only in his 20s, but he spoke politely and had a bent back, which was a long-term work impact. It seems that someone knows me. You can't expose the filling, you have to cook it. Long time no see, long time no see. The air suddenly quieted down. Lu Mengqi quickly thought for a moment. Just now, Grandpine also said, but I just strolled around and got here. Why don't I go take a look first? After Lu Mengqi finished speaking, he couldn't care about his father-in-law in front of him. He had to see what the emperor looked like. Lu Mengqi walked over and lay on the door. Just as the guards on both sides were about to speak, Lu Mengqi made a shush gesture. The eunuch just walked over quickly, trying to stop Lu Mengqi. Miss Lu, how could this be? In case the emperor finds out. Before he could finish speaking, the door suddenly opened. Lu Mengqi suddenly looked up and saw a huge and handsome face in front of him. This is something that hasn't come yet and can't be appreciated in detail. Lu Mengqi can't stand still and rushes forward. Oh my God, is this an idle drama plot? Did I accidentally fall into the arms of the male protagonist? Feeling a bit excited, Lu Mengqi was still immersed in the hero's rescue. Lin Zifeng quickly dodged and Lu Mengqi lay on the ground. I am, yen at _carrot. Surprised Lu Mengqi directly, which link went wrong? Shouldn't the male lead come and pick up the female lead? Forget it, for the sake of Zhu Shuai's face, let's keep this account in mind for now. Miss Lu, haven't you broken it? Get up quickly. The eunuch quickly helped Lu Mengqi up. Lu Mengqi stood up and patted the dust off his body. Looking at the person in front of me who doesn't understand how to cherish fragrance and jade, my favorability instantly diminishes. I didn't disturb you, why are you here? You're lying on the door listening to the corner of the wall, shouldn't you be like a lady from a wealthy family? His tone was unusually cold, wishing he could write all over his body, do not approach strangers. Lu Mengqi silently rolled his eyes in his heart. Returning to the emperor, I have nothing to do and just lie on the door to cool off. My daughter's mistake, please forgive me. Taking a cool break. Lu Mengqi, you are so nervous that your mouth is pounding. After speaking, Lu Mengqi looked up at the man in front of him. His profile was as sharp as a knife, with sharp edges but not lacking in softness. Your Majesty, I'll take my leave first. Lu Mengqi then noticed that there were two people next to the emperor, a handsome girl disguised as a man, and a handsome man with big eyes and a handsome little milk dog. Although this woman disguised herself as a man, she couldn't conceal her stunning coldness. This has crossed into the realm of beauty. I'm leaving, my subordinate. The handsome little milk dog also followed out. Just when Hai Lan went out, he glanced at Lu Mengqi, not particularly stunning, but looking full of vitality. Laifu, you should go out too. Lin Zifeng glanced at the eunuch in front of him. It used to be called Laifu, a very familiar name. It seems that this name often appears in Xingye's movies. Your Majesty, actually you don't need them all to go out. I don't have anything to say, Lu Mengqi thought. I just want to confirm your appearance, and there's nothing special I want to say. After all, in this life, I don't know when I need to say something and they need to avoid it. Then you say it, Lu Mengqi thought to himself, is there anything like 3 obediences and 4 virtues? Lu Mengqi, our marriage is scheduled for the 17th of next month. Master Qingxiu has already informed me that your health is in good condition. Lin Zifeng sat at the table, looking at the memorial while speaking coldly. I haven't even glanced at Lu Mengqi. Your Majesty, are you marrying me because you like my daughter, or because it was an engagement made by the previous emperor? Although Lu Mengqi was unhappy with Lin Zifeng's attitude, he still wanted to ask his heart. Because of the previous emperor's engagement, I already answered you 6 months ago. Lin Shufeng suddenly remembered that 6 months ago, Lu Mengqi's eyes were filled with tears, and he questioned whether he was using her because he liked her or because of the emperor's will. Lin Shufeng's heart could only retrieve the land and break free from control. As for the long-term relationship between children, it is not what one thinks in their hearts. Okay. Let's make a 3-chapter agreement. After we get married, we will each share our rooms. You can pick up the woman you like, but you can't hinder my freedom. I need a certificate that allows me to enter and exit freely. Isn't that difficult? Lu Mengqi doesn't want to be trapped in the palace, the vast world. He still wants to explore more. After all, holding the title of Empress, even if he wants to do something, it should be convenient. Freedom of entry and exit. What do you want to do? Lin Shufeng suddenly raised his head and looked at Lu Mengqi at this moment, feeling that he was not the same as before. Lu Mengqi was obedient and didn't look very energetic, with a sickly appearance. At this moment, Lu Mengqi's face was rosy, full of vitality, and full of energy. When she heard about the engagement, she looked indifferent, unlike her previous eyes full of grievances, except for her appearance. Your Majesty, I neither interfere with you nor hope that you can respect me and not inquire too much about my affairs. Lu Mengqi said angrily, it's strange that I didn't mind you speaking so directly. You even allowed me to enter and exit freely, of course not wanting to be trapped in the palace. Then let's wait until you get married to the palace. Lin Shufeng finished speaking and continued to lower his head, his tone cold and his face cold, really refusing to leave people thousands of miles away. If Lu Mengqi really gets scolded, he doesn't even want to say anything. If the emperor has nothing else to do, I will retire. Lu Mengqi, there is still 1 month left until the wedding. During this period, pay attention to your health. Also, don't be too relaxed with the people around you. Lin Zifeng's words, although cold, sounded a hint of concern in some reminders. I understand, Your Majesty, Lu Mengqi said in a sullen tone. Laifu, come in. The door was pushed open and Laifu walked in. Send off Miss Lu. Yes, Emperor. Laifu bowed. My daughter, please leave. Lu Mengqi quickly stood up, just wanting to go out and take a stroll. After Lu Mengqi left, one person walked out of the curtain. Your Majesty, I have investigated and found out that Miss Lu did not accidentally fall into the lake that day, but someone deliberately pushed her into the water. The speaker was dressed in black, and this person was Yang Jin's subordinate to the secret forces. At the age of 12, the emperor ascended to the throne and began secretly setting up a secret department at the age of 15. Now, 5 years have passed, and the power of the secret department is strong enough. In addition to the court, it is also widely spread throughout the 4 countries, and any news can be known. But now, in addition to continuing to strengthen our military strength, we also need to rely on the prestige of the land minister in the court. If we really take action, we may not be able to defeat the Empress Dowager and General Song. At present, nothing can happen to Lu Mengqi. As expected. Lin Zifeng slowly stood up and looked up at the direction of Lu Mengqi's departure. Regardless, Lu Mengqi couldn't die, she was a very important chess piece. I dare not take action without authorization because of the person behind me. Please let the Emperor know. Young Jin, how long have you been with me? The Emperor's eyes were so deep that no expression could be seen. It has been 7 years since I returned to the Emperor. Young Jin remembered 7 years ago when the Yang family was raided. He was 12 years old at the time, and his parents secretly hid him in a dry well. When everything was quiet, he secretly ran out and saw corpses everywhere. He hated his cowardice and incompetence. He stumbled onto the street and hid. Until one day, a man in black appeared with someone of his own age. Later, he found out that it was Zheng Bo, and that young man was the current emperor. The emperor, who was only 13 years old at the time, had a rare sense of stability. Despite his handsome appearance, his whole body exuded coldness. You have been by my side for 7 years, and I have been on the throne for 8 years, yet I still have to endure. Lin Zifeng clenched his hands, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. Your Majesty, you still need to think carefully. Yang Jin didn't know how to appease the emperor at this moment. After all, 7 years have passed and he hasn't cleared the injustice of the Yang family. The emperor is waiting, and he must also wait. In short, let's pay attention to them first. They are getting married next month, and I'm worried they might take action against Lu Mengqi again. Lin Shufeng knew in his heart that whether it was the recent drowning or the poisoning 6 months ago, it was all intentional by them to prevent this engagement. Yes, I obey. Young Jin is the force in the darkness, helping the emperor gain real power. Of course, only when the emperor has real power can he seek revenge. Lu Mengqi was somewhat worried in his heart. The Empress Dowager didn't seem kind, and the emperor didn't seem easy to talk to. The days of entering the palace were probably not easy, so he had to find a way to protect himself. After all, whether it's poisoning or falling into the water, I always feel that things shouldn't be unexpected. Lu Mengqi was only focused on the matter and ran into a man head-on. Oh my! Lu Mengqi wondered, who is so careless? Lin Shufeng turned his head to look at the second miss of the Lu family, and just ran into himself. Miss Lu, be more focused when walking, Lin Shufeng said with a smile. Lu Mengqi only then realized that there was another man in front of him, who looked a bit thin and pale, but he actually knew him. Are you? Lu Mengqi looked at him with some confusion, then at Laifu. Laifu immediately understood. Miss Lu, this is our King Qi, the younger brother of the Holy One today. Laifu approached Lu Mengqi and whispered. My daughter has met King Qi. Lu Mengqi still bowed briefly. Looking at this praying king, I suddenly remembered a line from Du Fu's poem. In short, he is a graceful and beautiful young man, holding his cup and looking at the blue sky with white eyes, as bright as a jade tree in front of the wind. It looks easier to get close to than the emperor. Miss Lu has really lost her memory. It seems that she has already met her brother, so be careful on the way back. Lin Shufeng's voice was also particularly gentle. I'm really sorry, then I'll go back first, King Qi. Lu Mengqi turned around and left, and today has been a good day for his eyes. Watching Lu Mengqi leave, Lin Shufeng put away his smile and turned to walk towards the Tianlu Hall. Chapter 6. Entry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Returning to the Prime Minister's mansion, Lady Lu welcomed and held Lu Mengqi's hand. Cheer, are you okay? Mrs. Lu's face was full of worry. 6 months ago, when Mengqi returned from the palace, his eyes turned red with tears. Later, he fell ill and refused to say what had happened, which was very worrying. Mom, I'm fine. Look, isn't this okay with me? Mengqi turned several corners as she spoke. Looking at Mrs. Lu with tears in her eyes, Mengqi's heart also felt uncomfortable. Although I don't know what kind of person Miss Lu used to be, she definitely wasn't a worry-free person, Mengqi sighed inwardly. During dinner, Mengqi looked at the table full of food. The ancient people were too extravagant and wasteful, and could only be described as being arrogant. Mom, that's too much, isn't it? Mengqi looked at Madame Lu. Cheer, you should be taking good care of yourself recently, Mrs. Lu said with a spoiled smile. Yes, second sister, your appetite has been amazing lately, Lu Yuanche sneered. Cheer, don't talk about your second sister. Cheer is so thin and weak that we need to take good care of her body, said Lu Jinghan as she handed over a bowl of bird's nest. Red dates are added to this bird's nest to nourish qi and blood, said Lu Jinghan with a smile. Thank you, sister. Mengqi smiled. This kind of family warmth was something she had lacked before. Although she was also carefree in that era, her parents were too busy. From a young age, the one she saw the most was not the driver at home, but the Zhang aunt beside her. Thinking of this, Mengqi felt a bit sad and his eyes dimmed. What's wrong, Cheer? Mrs. Lu noticed a change in Mengqi's expression and couldn't help but start worrying. It's okay, Mom. I'm just too touched. Mengqi took a sip of bird's nest, it was so sweet. Silly child, we are a family, Mrs. Lu patted Mengqi's shoulder. Second sister, this is a disaster that never dies. It really seems like a different person. Come on, let's have some chicken legs. Lu Yuanche smiled and picked up a chicken leg and sent it to Mengqi's bowl. Although it seems that the second sister has changed, she still belongs to her own family. After all, compared to the former second sister who was bedridden all year round, he prefers the energetic second sister in front of him. By the way, why didn't you see Dad? Mengqi then realized that Lu Zilan was not at the table. Your father has made a few friends recently. When you fell into the lake that day, he happened to be rushing back from the Song mansion. On the way, he suddenly encountered a few thieves who caused trouble and indiscriminately attacked his followers. Your father almost had an accident, but fortunately, a warrior passed by and drove away those thieves, and your father was rescued. Mrs. Lu spoke while patting her chest. It was unfortunate for the Lu family that day. In broad daylight, in front of everyone's eyes, someone dares to cause trouble at the feet of the emperor. Mengqi suddenly felt a bit unusual, which was too coincidental. First, he fell into the lake, and then the lord of the land department met the thief. Who said it's not true? Your father is at least the prime minister of the court. How dare these thieves be so reckless? But fortunately, they were saved by that warrior, Mrs. Lu said. This group of people appeared a bit strange, but later I heard that they were attacked not only by their parents, but also by other adults in the court, said Lu Jinghan. I think it's the people of Hanza who have rebelled. Hanza has long been eyeing our Heavenly Dynasty, Lu Yuanche said angrily. Shut up, don't talk nonsense. It's good to talk less about the affairs in the court, Mrs. Lu scolded. After dinner, Mengqi called in Lu Yuanche because she was unfamiliar with the current country and needed to extract some words from her younger brother. Yuanche, my second sister asked you, what's going on with the cold zay you talked about today? Mengqi asked while eating grapes, pretending to be very casual. Second sister, you won't lose your memory. You don't even know about our dynasty, do you? Asked Lu Yuanche's soul. To be honest, besides remembering one's own name, I really don't remember anything, I don't even know which dynasty I am in. Mengqi smiled bitterly, and everyone had changed. What kind of amnesia, I never remember at all. Alright, let me tell you a lot. Our heavenly kingdom is located in the center and has absolute power, while there are 4 small countries around us. Shaoyang in the east, Duyu in the west, Hanzi in the north, and Qifang in the south. Now it's called Danlu, Lu Yuanche confidently introduced. He has been exposed to these things since childhood, but unfortunately, he is often punished by his father. Ha ha ha, if the 4 countries were to attack each other, wouldn't it be seeking their own death? Lu Mengqi didn't know what the heavenly court was thinking. How could there be small countries in the east, west, north, south, and north? If the 4 countries were to form an alliance, wouldn't the royal court in between be like a turtle in a jar? Second sister, you're really joking. How could our heavenly kingdom be in danger? Not to mention, the combined strength of these 4 countries may not necessarily be a match for our heavenly kingdom. Even the military machinery offices of these 4 countries were established by our dynasty, and the lord of the Diyu city, Lord Hailan, is absolutely loyal to our dynasty. Besides, the lord of Shaoyang city is the uncle of King Qi, who is also the younger brother of the current holy emperor. What should we be afraid of in our heavenly kingdom? Lu Yuanche patted his chest with absolute confidence in the heavenly dynasty. Not all those who rebelled in ancient times were close people, how could there be any absolute loyalty? There are still few rebellions by this younger brother. Lu Mengqi said disdainfully. Which of these emperors throughout history has a clean hand? This power is the best, and the most ruthless is the imperial family. This silly little brother is really innocent. Qi Wang doesn't know how to do it. Qi Wang is the gentlest and best-tempered prince I have ever seen. Lu Yuanche immediately became anxious. He had seen Prince Qi several times before. Prince Qi had a graceful demeanor, a pure and elegant temperament, and was gentle like jade. How could such a person rebel, and King Qi has never participated in any political affairs and has no conflict with the world? Qi Wang. Lu Mengqi remembered that the handsome young master he ran into before leaving the palace today did indeed look harmless to humans and animals. It's much gentler than the emperor. But in terms of appearance, he is indeed a bit inferior to the emperor. It's just a little bit okay. Alright, I know now, you go to sleep. Lu Mengqi got up and drove Lu Yuanche out, feeling a bit sleepy. The next day. Cheer, come and meet Brother Lu. Brother Lu is my father's life-saving benefactor. Brother Lu, this is my youngest daughter, Lu Mengqi. Lu Zilan sat in his seat, waving to Lu Mengqi while smiling at Lu Guoren. Hello, Lu Mengqi looked at Lu Guoren. He looked like he was in his early 40s, but he didn't know how to call him uncle. Hey, Cheer, you should call me uncle, Mrs. Lu said. Oh, hello Uncle Lu. Lu Mengqi looked at the man in front of him. He was tall, square-faced, very burly, with a black mole on his chin, bright eyes, and looked rough and shrewd. On that day, I still want to thank Uncle Lu for saving my father. If there is anything we need in the future, just say it, said Lu Yuanche, standing up and bowing deeply. Upon seeing this, Lu Guoren immediately stood up and helped Yuanche up, saying, My dear nephew, never mind. I am a rough person wandering the rivers and lakes, not bound by small details. Does uncle sound like he's from the north, said Lu Jinghan. I ran to the escort agency a few years ago to make a living, so I have also been to the north, Lu Guoren said with a smile. Madam, hurry up and have the kitchen prepare the food. I want to have a good drink with Brother Lu. Lu Zilan looked at Madam Lu. Okay, sir. Mrs. Lu stood up, and Lu Mengqi stood up together. Mom, I'll go with you. Young master, we have been here for 3 days now. Who are you waiting for? The young man in front of him was wearing a blue headscarf and a plain long shirt, dressed like a book boy. Jinsheng, the person we're waiting for is about to meet you. The speaker, dressed in white, was Xin Shui. His long hair was simply tied up, his voice was magnetic and gentle, as if he were a graceful young master. His demeanor was particularly beautiful, and he lifted his head with a cheerful and clear expression. His eyebrows were like a painting, and when he smiled, there was a beautiful woman on his forehead who ignored gender, as if he had descended from heaven. He lifted the cup in his hand and drank it all in one gulp. Sister, why are there so many people today? It's so lively. There's a big group of people over there. Mengqi took Lu Jingyan's arm and walked forward quickly. We also strolled for a long time. Cheer, why don't we go and have some tea? The first-class tea house is the best here, and you used to tell Xiaoxi to come here to buy tea snacks. Lu Jinghan looked at Mengqi with indulgence. I patted Mengqi's hand. That's great, we can choose a spot by the window and also enjoy the scenery. Mengqi pulled Lu Jinghan towards the second floor, walking fast. As she looked up, she suddenly bumped into someone's arms. Seeing the man in front of her, Mengqi's heart suddenly felt a bit erratic. The stranger is like jade, and the young master is unparalleled in the world. Mengqi muttered to himself. Miss, are you okay? Her voice was gentle and deep. Mengqi could no longer describe it in words. Unlike the emperor's cold and handsome demeanor, the man in front of him had a radiant face and laughed like his first love. He really wanted to fall in love. I'm fine, thank you. Rectify yourself. Mengqi, you need to remain calm. Don't be a flower lover. Be careful, keep an eye on the road. The man leaned closer to Mengqi and whispered in her ear. After finishing speaking, he went downstairs. Your name, can you tell me your name? Mengqi said to his departing figure. Leng Zimo said and walked straight away. Young master, are we waiting for that person anymore? Jin Xing asked. I have seen it, said Zimo. Are you referring to the girl you just mentioned? Exactly. After speaking, Zimo put away the folding fan in his hand, elegant but not arrogant, elegant and ethereal, with light steps. Cheer, as girls who haven't left the court yet, we can't talk too much to the man outside casually, said Lu Jinghan, giving Mengqi a piece of jujube paste cake. Sister, it's okay. I think one day in the future, men and women will be equal and there won't be so many rules. Mengqi smiled and said, picking up the square cake and eating it. Sister, this is good to eat. Mengqi didn't expect that the ancient people had so few ingredients, but the dim sum they made was so delicious. This is jujube paste cake, which is your favorite, and this pine nut lily cake, which is also your favorite, paired with jade leaf changchun, which you used to love drinking. Lu Jinghan looked at Mengqi in front of her. Her personality completely changed, but she became lively, not like before, closed door and lethargic all day long. Jade leaf changchun. Mengqi looked at the tea in the cup. This jade leaf changchun has one bud and two leaves in its original ecology, with large and green leaves floating in the cup, just like orchids. The soup has a bright and clear color, a mellow and refreshing taste, and it helps to relieve greasiness, making it a good tea, said Mengqi with a smile. Lu Jinghan dragged her hand and looked out the window, coincidentally seeing Song Yuyan getting off the carriage. She has also come. I don't know if Cheer would worry when she saw her. Song Yuyan repeatedly ran against Cheer due to the emperor's situation, and with the support of General Song and the Empress Dowager, the Lu family had to endure 3 more times. It's just that Cheer has just experienced life and death this time, and I won't let her suffer any more injustice. Shopkeeper, are the private rooms on the 2nd floor ready? Song Yuyan didn't even look directly at the waiter as she spoke. A face full of impatience. Yes, miss, everything is ready. The waiter lowered his head and bowed. Of course he couldn't offend the person in front of him, after all, he was the miss of the Song mansion. At this moment, Mengqi felt his voice so familiar. When Song Yuyan walked upstairs, Mengqi couldn't believe his eyes. Song Yuyan. Why are you here? Perhaps she has also traveled here. Lu Mengqi. Why are you out? Are you sick? Besides, why can't I be here? Song Yuyan walked over with a displeased expression. Lu Mengqi used to bow and dodge when he saw her, but now her voice has increased. How can she bear it? Have you also traveled here? Lu Mengqi walked up to Song Yuyan and whispered in her ear. What are you talking about? Song Yuyan looked impatient and pushed Lu Mengqi directly. What time travel? What nonsense is this girl talking about? Song Yuyan, just talk and say, why do you have to push Cheer? Lu Jinghan angrily supported Lu Mengqi and stared at Song Yuyan. What's wrong with me pushing her? Who made her so close to me? I don't like it. What's wrong, Lu Mengqi? Someone is supporting you today, isn't they? Song Yuyan said fiercely and pushed Lu Jinghan. What about the Prime Minister's mansion? The Empress Dowager is my own aunt. Lu Mengqi turned his head and protected Lu Jinghan behind him. Why are you talking so hard? Lu Mengqi said angrily. Why, Lu Mengqi, you have the courage now, don't you? Song Yuyan finished speaking and wanted to push Lu Mengqi, only to see Lu Mengqi flash and push, and Song Yuyan directly lay on the ground. Lu Jinghan was stunned. Humph, you think I don't know how to do it, Song Yuyan. If you change places, you won't be able to walk sideways. Lu Mengqi smiled and clapped his hands. Lu Mengqi. Song Yuyan looked at her in surprise, as Lu Mengqi dared to push herself. The maid beside her quickly helped up Song Yuyan. Lu Mengqi walked slowly to Song Yuyan and whispered. Song Yuyan, a few days ago the Empress Dowager summoned me and rewarded me with a hairpin ring. I heard it was given by the Empress Dowager when she was crowned as the Empress. After speaking, Lu Mengqi smiled and pulled Lu Jinghan around before leaving. Song Yu's face turned blue with anger. Lu Mengqi, I want to see how long you can be proud. Song Yuyan said fiercely. Cheer, you have really changed a bit. Lu Jinghan smiled and looked at Lu Mengqi. Sister, I won't die in a disaster, and I need to live a good life. I shouldn't be angry, absolutely not. Lu Mengqi said with a smile. It seems that Song Yuyan has not traveled through time, but the Song Yuyan in front of me is not a good person to hide from. Oh my! The waiter in front of him accidentally bumped into the man who was coming in. The man had wet his cuffs with water and hurriedly wiped them. Lu Mengqi vaguely saw the rolled-up cuffs and a tiger head tattoo on his arm. The man hurriedly pulled down his sleeve. Sorry, guest, I'll wipe it clean for you. The waiter hurriedly wiped it with a cloth. Okay. The man pushed away the waiter and went upstairs. Although wearing a bamboo hat, Lu Mengqi still felt that the man in front of him had a somewhat familiar face. The sound also seems to have been heard somewhere. Cheer, what are you looking at? Let's hurry back, otherwise Mom will worry. Lu Jinghan held Lu Mengqi's hand and walked out of the EP1-10 house. Chapter 7. Entry 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Madam, today you have someone clean up the western room. Brother Lu may need to stay for a while, Lu Zilan instructed Madam Lu at the dinner table. Okay, by the way, sir. I heard that the Empress Dowager has issued a decree for the Emperor's birthday the day after tomorrow. All officials and unmarried girls can go. I don't know what the Empress Dowager means. Madame Lu knew in her heart that the Empress Dowager wanted to use this opportunity to select a concubine for the Emperor. Although Cheer was a crown princess bestowed by the previous Emperor and now married to the Emperor, she became the Empress. However, how could Cheer be the only one in this harem? The Empress Dowager's intention is definitely to bring in more concubines for the Emperor. Lu Mengqi ate while speaking nonchalantly. The Empress Dowager must have chosen more of her own people to pass on to the Emperor, so that the royal family can spread their branches and leaves. Which Empress Dowager doesn't want her son to have more grandchildren? Cheer, aren't you feeling uncomfortable? You haven't even married the emperor yet. Mrs. Lu's face was full of worry. Mother, what's so uncomfortable about this matter? The emperor is the Empress Dowager's biological son. Isn't it normal for the Empress Dowager to want more concubines for the emperor? After Mengqi finished speaking, the people on the table looked at her in surprise. What's wrong with this? Did you say the wrong thing again? Cheer, have you forgotten even this? The birth mother of the current emperor is the Empress of the late emperor. Lu Zilan whispered to Mengqi. Ah! Mengqi quickly covered his mouth. No wonder he felt that the emperor and the Empress Dowager didn't look like each other at all. The Empress of the former emperor. It's that abandoned palace. Is there really something going on here? Dad, Mom, I really can't remember it anymore. I will definitely not speak recklessly in the future. After dinner, Mengqi held the hand of the landing lady and the two sat in the courtyard. Mengqi held his face in his hand and looked at Mrs. Lu with a smile on his face. Mother, I'll ask about the situation in your palace because I'm afraid I'll say the wrong thing because I'll be entering the palace again the day after tomorrow. Okay, Cheer, my mother is also worried about you saying the wrong thing. Mrs. Lu doted and touched Mengqi's head. Mother, do you know what crime the late emperor's concubine committed? Mengqi was still a little curious about this. It is said that Empress killed the current Empress Dowager's biological son, Prince Shuqing. Later, Empress committed suicide and jumped down from the city tower. Empress Yi's son, the second prince, was raised by the current Empress Dowager, who is the current emperor. Mrs. Lu pondered as she spoke. The Empress Dowager is actually willing to raise the son of her enemy. She has a broad mind. Mengqi couldn't help but exclaim that the Empress Dowager is truly great. Who said it's not? The emperor felt guilty and rewarded the current Empress Dowager's mother's family. Her younger brother, General Song, was awarded the title of first-class merit, and General Song's daughter was raised in the palace and was granted the title of princess. Song Yuyan. Mengqi was not only surprised but also wanted to laugh. In this life, Song Yuyan really entered the royal palace and became a princess. Her fate was good. Yes, this daughter of the Song family has always been at odds with you. She grew up in the palace and has been a childhood sweetheart with the current emperor. If it weren't for the emperor's will, she would probably be the current queen candidate. Madame Lu knew that on the surface, the Song and Lu families were peaceful, but in reality, their faces and hearts had long been at odds. It was just a matter of considering the face of the current emperor and Empress Dowager. Song Yuyan is now the Empress Dowager's own niece, so the Empress Dowager definitely doesn't want me to be the empress. After all, holding the position of empress in her own hands would be even better. Mengqi couldn't help but laugh at the thought in his heart. The Empress Dowager was indeed powerful, and her kind face in front of him showed no flaws. So, my mother is very worried about your situation in the palace. I heard from your father that the emperor and the Empress Dowager have started to fight secretly now, and your father naturally faces the emperor's side. After all, reform is something that happens throughout dynasties, and your father also feels that many previous systems have loopholes. However, the Empress Dowager is still conservative in the previous system, and General Song is standing on her side. So, I am even more worried that if you marry the emperor in the future, mother, you don't have to worry. I will handle things carefully, just for self-protection. Mengqi interrupted Madame Lu with a smile. Ever since it was too difficult to survive, it seems like you have changed your personality. If you think so, my mother naturally feels at ease. Mrs. Lu shook Mengqi's hand. By the way, mother, I met King Qi in the palace that day. She is the younger brother of the current emperor. Why doesn't the Empress Dowager take care of him? Instead she takes care of the son of her enemy, said Mengqi. Prince Qi is the third prince, and his mother, Empress Qi, is currently practicing at Lingguang Temple. Shortly after Empress Yi's death, Empress Qi voluntarily resigned to go to the Buddhist temple to practice. Madame Lu paused for a moment, recalled for a moment, and continued speaking. To say that the most favored one is still Consort Yi. Consort Yi has a good appearance, high talent, and rarely gets along with others. She is known for her good temper, and it's hard to believe that she actually harmed the crown prince. However, the emperor originally intended to appoint Consort Yi's son as the crown prince. However, Consort Yi's background was not high, and her mother's family was only a merchant family. The court ministers opposed her and thus appointed the son of the current Empress Dowager as the crown prince. Isn't the Empress Dowager now even more resentful of Empress Yi and her son, pretending to be virtuous? I believe raising the second prince must also be seen by the emperor. After all, the emperor loves Empress Yi and her son so much. Mengqi thought that the Empress Dowager did so only because her biological son was no longer there, and the emperor had intended to make the second prince the crown prince and raise him. This not only made the emperor happy, but also increased his guilt, killing two birds with one stone. Besides, Consort Yi has no support, and Consort Qi's brother is the lord of Shaoyang City, making it difficult for the Empress Dowager to control. Therefore, Consort Yi's son is the best choice. Most of the things Mrs. Lu knows are what Mr. Lu came back to say, but there are some things she knows, and with a little speculation, she can understand. So, Empress Yi and the current emperor are both pawns of the Empress Dowager, so arranging one's own people by the emperor's side is to better control the emperor. Mengqi thought to himself that the current emperor really needs himself. With the help of the prime minister, many things can be justified. So, I am a very important chess piece. Thinking of this, Mengqi couldn't help but laugh. This can't be separated from political alliances at any time. Your Majesty, tomorrow is your birthday. The Empress Dowager's intention is to hold a grand event and invite all the officials and young ladies in the city who have not yet left the court. Of course, Miss Lu will also come. Lai Fu said to the emperor while serving tea. Do everything according to the Empress Dowager's instructions. Lin Shufeng drank tea while speaking. He knew that as the wedding was approaching the Empress Dowager must have planted some eyeliner. The so-called birthday party thought it was a chance for all the official women to be treated fairly, but in fact, I was afraid that the candidates had already been arranged. There are still 7 days left for their marriage with Mengqi, during which no mistakes can be made. I'll obey. After Lai Fu finished speaking, he left. The emperor didn't like having too many people around him, especially at the moment. His face was unusually ugly, so it was better to avoid it. Your Majesty, the matter you instructed has been thoroughly investigated. The assassination of Prime Minister Lu on that day was indeed intentionally arranged by someone. Yang Jin looked at the emperor, whose face was heavy at the moment. General Song's people. The emperor glanced at Yang Jin. Yes, the people who caused trouble on the street were all mountain bandits who were bribed by General Song's people to cause trouble, but they only said it was a disturbance and wouldn't take anyone's life. I want to know the person who saved the Prime Minister. Lin Shufeng knew that those people were deliberately arranged, just to lead to the person who appeared later, and that person was the key. This person has never been seen before and doesn't look like someone from my dynasty, but he has extraordinary skills. I followed him a few times before and almost caught him. In the first-grade tea house, the shopkeeper accidentally bumped into him, otherwise his subordinates might be discovered. Yang Jin thought of that day and followed him out of a Yihong courtyard. He wore a bamboo hat and went to the first-grade tea house, where he even saw Miss Lu that day. He went to see someone at the EP1-10 tea house. I haven't seen it before. There were too many people at that time. Besides Miss Lu, there were also carriages from the Song dynasty. Mengqi. The emperor was somewhat surprised. She didn't like going out, did she? Exactly, there is also Miss Lu from the Lu family accompanying us. By the way, that person often comes and goes to the Lu Prime Minister's mansion, and the Prime Minister values this person very much. The life-saving benefactor, that is natural, and there may be some conspiracy. Please send someone to closely monitor the Lu Prime Minister's mansion and the Song mansion. Lin Shufeng's face was gloomy, afraid that something might happen to the Lu Xiangfu. Chapter 8. Deadline. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What should I give to the Emperor for his birthday? Lu Mengqi muttered softly. Lu Jinghan walked in. Cheer, what are you thinking? Sister, I'm thinking of giving something to the Emperor. I can't even handle ordinary things. You can go or not, don't worry. Lu Mengqi looked at Lu Jinghan with envy on his face. I didn't want to go, but I really can't trust you. But I didn't prepare any gifts either, but you're different. You're the future queen, Lu Jinghan smiled as she looked at Lu Mengqi. Okay, let me think about it. I don't think the Emperor has ever seen any rare antiques before, so I'll give some impressive ones. Lu Mengqi thought for a moment and said, what can I do to leave a deep impression on the Emperor? Miss Eyre, Auntie Chiu has prepared your sedative medicine. You can drink it first. Xiaoxi brought a bowl of soup medicine, which she had stopped since Miss fell into the water. Now, Miss Chiu has been thinking deeply these past few days. Auntie Chiu said that this sedative medicine cannot be stopped anymore. Don't, this Chinese medicine is so bitter. You can change a bowl of soup or congee if you don't want to drink it. Lu Mengqi pushed away, so she didn't want to drink Chinese medicine. With dysmenorrhea, how many Chinese medicines she drank were useless, and the taste was particularly bitter. Cheer, the prescription for this calming medicine was still prescribed by the imperial physician in the palace. Autumn's mother is also from the palace, and it was ordered by the Empress Dowager. After you woke up from drowning, it has been a month since you woke up. Now that I've seen your circles turn blue these past few days, I'm afraid you haven't rested well. I think this medicine can't be stopped, Lu Jinghan joked. Alright, let this go. I'll drink later. Sister, go rest quickly. Xiaoxi, go get me some pastry and I'll take some medicine. Xiaoyun, go get some facial wash. Lu Mengqi thought, sending everyone away first. If you want me to drink medicine, there's no way. Okay, you guys go quickly, cheer. Then I'll go back to my room too. After Lu Jinghan finished speaking, she walked out, and her maid Zhuang Er followed her out. Xiaoxi and Xiaoyun also went out. Lu Mengqi walked up to the table, picked up the bowl, turned around and poured it into the flower pot. I won't drink it. The next day, Lu Mengqi left the door early and needed to prepare things early. After breakfast, Lu Mengqi returned with a bag on his back, and the whole family looked at each other. Cheer, where have you been? We are so worried. Someone is coming to the palace soon. Please hurry up and dress up, Mrs. Lu urged. Cheer, hurry up and go, I'll wait for you here. Lu Jinghan also pushed Lu Mengqi. Okay, I'll go right away, Lu Mengqi said, carrying her bag to her room. After a while, Lu Mengqi walked out, holding a box in his hand. You just changed into a new outfit. Lu Jinghan looked at Lu Mengqi, who didn't even comb her hair properly. It's okay, that's it. With my sister's beauty, I won't look impressive no matter how I dress up, Lu Mengqi said with a smile. Not to mention dressing up, even if I get a few injections on my face, it won't be as attractive as Lu Jingyan's. This beauty can't be hidden. You just have a sweet mouth, Lu Jinghan said with a smile. Madam, miss, someone has arrived in the palace, and the carriage is outside, said Steward Wang as he entered. Then you go quickly, Mrs. Lu said. By the way, madam, Grandpa Lu has arrived and he even entrusted someone to move some goods. He said that there were some problems with this escort agency and they need to be temporarily stored at the mansion. You said it's about Brother Lu, I know. The master mentioned this before leaving, and Brother Lu told the master about it a few days ago. It's okay, let's help move to the west room together. Mrs. Lu waved her hand. Yes, madam, said Butler Wang before leaving. Be careful when you go to the palace, don't talk too much, do you understand? Mrs. Lu instructed. Got it, Mom. Lu Mengqi grabbed Lu Jingyan's hand and got into the carriage. There are so many flowers in the palace. Lu Mengqi took a look at these flowers, each one with its own branches and moving around. I can't help but sigh in my heart that the emperor's blessings are not shallow. From a long distance, Lu Mengqi saw Song Yuyan surrounded by the crowd. She was dressed in a clever and eye-catching way, her clothes were incredibly bright in color, like flowing brocade. Looking at her from a distance, her eyes flickered. Compared to Song Yuyan, Lu Mengqi's clothes appear much more low-key, but overall they appear simple and elegant. Moreover, the hair mentioned by my sister this morning was intentionally tied loosely. Oh my, Sister Lu is also here. Some people squeezed in from the crowd, and besides Song Yuyan, she was the second miss of the Lu Prime Minister's mansion. After all, she was the future queen. Song Yuyan looked fiercely at Lu Mengqi, wanting to become the queen in the next life. The emperor is here. The voice of Lai Fu came from over there. The emperor is here, hurry up. Oh, please let me go. The girls began to squeeze, but Song Yuyan did move wherever he went, and the crowd automatically moved away. Your Majesty, what the Empress Dowager means is that as long as you are happy today, she will not interfere with the elderly. Lai Fu whispered. Your Majesty, the voice was truly charming. Song Yuyan swayed and slowly walked towards the emperor. Lu Mengqi only felt a slight surge in his appetite. The change was so rapid that he had just become arrogant. He would see the emperor and start pretending again. Yuyan's sister, how have you been lately? The emperor showed a rare smile. Lu Mengqi thought he was mistaken, didn't he know how to smile? Your Majesty's cousin, it's been over half a month since I last saw you. My aunt has been saying that you're busy and I can't even see you anymore. Song Yuyan complained a bit while also playing coquettish inside. Lu Mengqi couldn't bear to watch and slowly withdrew from the crowd. But all of this is in the eyes of the emperor. Where is she going? After a while, countless lights flickered back and forth. Lin Shufeng stood up and walked slowly over. In the center of the pavilion, Lu Mengqi danced gracefully, while several maids around shook the transparent crystals in their hands, refracting the sunlight into colorful hues. These rays of light reflected in the pavilion and on Lu Mengqi's white skirt. The distant sound of the qin was played by Lu Jinghan hiding behind the rockery next to the pavilion, while Lu Mengqi danced gracefully. In modern times, when Chinese dance reaches its peak, no one knows how to dance a few more dances. Lu Mengqi thought to himself that today, besides making the emperor like him a bit, he also needs to anger Song Yuyan. On the way here, Lu Mengqi told Lu Jinghan his thoughts and asked her to help together. The sound of the qin was pleasant, the dance was graceful, and the seven-colored light flickered. At this moment, everyone's gaze was on Lu Mengqi, like a fairy. Lin Shufeng felt that Lu Mengqi was completely someone else. The person in front of him was shining with every frown and smile, and his face was confident and composed. At this moment, Lu Mengqi quietly touched his collar and saw the color of his clothes change from white to slightly pink. The air was also filled with a refreshing fragrance, and everyone was surprised by this unique fragrance. Sometime, there were several bright red peonies on Lu Mengqi's clothes. No, they were painted. A few butterflies flew from a distance and landed on Lu Mengqi's body. Lu Mengqi slowly raised his hand, lightly touched his headscarf, and his hairpin landed. His hair slowly fell into his cheek, perfectly gentle. At the end of the song, Dance Falls. Lin Shufeng slowly walked towards Lu Mengqi and picked up the hairpin on the ground. Lu Mengqi, I didn't know you had such a side. Lin Shufeng picked up his hairpin and helped her roll up her hair. I don't even know that the emperor knows about girls' things, Lu Mengqi retorted. Kissed the emperor on the cheek. Happy birthday, your majesty. At this moment, Lin Shufeng felt something in his heart beating wildly, and his heart was a bit flustered. When did Lu Mengqi become so bold? Lu Mengqi. Why are you not at all reserved? You are unmarried with the emperor, how can you do these dirty things in public? Song Yuyan was really going crazy at this moment, she just took the emperor's arm. Song Yuyan. You could have been holding my future husband's arm in front of me just now, why can't I? Besides, in a few days, I'll be married to the emperor. Why not? Lu Mengqi couldn't help but feel happy when he saw Song Yuyan going crazy. These days, he has heard from others how he used to be bullied by this Song Yuyan. Now that he has done so, he wants to show loyalty to the emperor and take good care of this Song Yuyan. But to make a living in the palace, one must first please the emperor, preferably to make him reluctant to die. Lu Mengqi, what are you doing? Lin Shufeng whispered in Lu Mengqi's ear. Lu Mengqi used to avoid things and would always avoid Song Yuyan in everything. Now, this provocative offense will cause more trouble in the future. Your Majesty, I am a gift giver. Besides, I am also helping you. I know you definitely don't like Song Yuyan, so I will help you get rid of her. Lu Mengqi also whispered. This Song Yuyan is the daughter of General Song, the current Empress Dowager's niece. How could the emperor like her? I'm afraid it's too late to hide. The people on the side were all watching, the emperor and Lu Mengqi murmuring softly, and Song Yuyan's face turned blue with anger. Lu Mengqi, how many more days can you still be proud? If you want to marry the emperor, unless you can live. Song Yuyan slowly walked away. The sound of the girl's piano is so beautiful, Lin Shuyang walked up to Lu Jinghan. He looked at the beauty in front of him, so delicate that no woman today could compare to her. His Highness King Qi. Lu Jinghan stood up and saluted. How do you know I'm King Qi? Lin Shuyang couldn't help but be surprised. He had already noticed Lu Jinghan, but she probably hadn't seen her before. Only His Royal Highness Qi Wang, who is about 20 years old and can freely move around in the palace and enter the inner court, has been mentioned by Yuan Che before, and Lu Mengqi once mentioned encountering Qi Wang and said something about it. That's probably it. Since you have helped Lu Mengqi, you should be the most beautiful woman in the city, Miss Lu Jinghan of the Lu family. It can be said that the Miss of the Lu family has both talent and beauty, and her appearance is above that of Lu Mengqi. However, the emperor issued an order to designate Lu Mengqi as the crown princess. The prince praised me too much. If there's nothing else to do, I'll leave first. Lu Jinghan turned around and left. Watching the beautiful woman's distant figure disappear, Lin Shuyang fell into contemplation. At the dinner party, the Empress Dowager and Song Yuyan kept chatting and laughing. The emperor occasionally responded and turned around to drink a few muffled drinks. Lu Mengqi felt extremely bored. Returning to the Prime Minister's mansion, Lu Zilan and his wife welcomed him. Cheer, I heard that you had a big show at the birthday banquet today. Didn't you tell your mother to keep a low profile? Mrs. Lu's heart was already in her throat, and the city was now discussing this matter. Cheer, how could you go in public and kiss the emperor in public? What kind of way is this? Lu Zilan was a bit angry. Since Cheer woke up, he seemed to have changed a person, and his behavior was not understandable to ordinary people. Today, this incident has even disgraced the Prime Minister's face. Alright, Dad, Mom, I just want to leave a deep impression on the emperor. Don't blame me. As Lu Mengqi spoke, he pretended to be aggrieved. Sure enough, the tricks of green tea were still useful, and Lu Zilan and his wife softened their hearts. Lu Mengqi thought to himself that only by surprise can the emperor truly notice her, rather than just focusing on her identity. Although she doesn't love the emperor, if she can occupy some place in his heart, her future days in the palace will also be smoother. Miss, it's 15 now. After tomorrow, Miss will get married, Xiao she said with a smile. Lu Mengqi stared at himself in the bronze mirror, his complexion much better. This month has not been in vain. Turning his neck as he spoke, he accidentally saw the withered flowers in the flower pot. Oh, why has this flower withered? Xiaoxi, did you water too much? It was fine a few days ago, but the flowers wilted a bit yesterday and died today, Xiaoyun complained. How many days did this flower wither? Asked Lu Mengqi. Yes, miss, it's strange that you've been doing well lately, isn't it? Xiaoyun said as she took out the flowers. Wait a moment. Lu Mengqi pulled out the silver hairpin on his head and inserted it into the soil of the flower pot, making it black. Xiaoyun was so scared that she let go of the flower pot. The flower pot shattered on the ground, and Lu Mengqi saw that the flower roots had already turned black and died. Who poisoned the flowers? Xiaoxi exclaimed in shock. Lu Mengqi suddenly remembered that on the day before the emperor's birthday, she had been pouring sedatives into the flower pot for 4 days. Xiaoxi, let me ask you, was Autumn's mother sent by the Empress Dowager? How long has she been sent? Lu Mengqi's face turned heavy. About half a year ago, the young lady had always been in poor health. She entered the palace 6 months ago, and when she returned, her eyes were red, she was lethargic all day, and her sleep was not good. It was the Empress Dowager who sent the imperial physician to treat her, prescribed a prescription, and had Autumn's mother personally take care of her. Xiaoxi wondered what this flower pot had to do with Autumn's mother. Sure enough, last time I heard my mother and Master Qingxiu say that I was poisoned 6 months ago and slowly entered, causing the disease to enter my bone marrow. Now, thinking about it, it's all right. The kung fu is done meticulously enough, so that no one will notice and end up unknowingly. Autumn Mom. Xiaoyun, go call my mother over. Lu Mengqi turned to Xiaoyun and said. At this moment, there was a commotion outside, and Zhuang Er hurriedly ran over. Miss Er, it's not good. There's an accident at the Prime Minister's mansion, many officers and soldiers. Zhuang Er's face was filled with tears. Lu Mengqi's eyes suddenly turned black, and several familiar figures flashed in his mind. She calmed down and walked quickly towards the front hall. I saw all the servants kneeling on the ground, surrounded by officers and soldiers. My mother, sister, and Yuan Che were being held hostage. I saw the officers and soldiers carrying out several large boxes from the west. Upon opening them, it turned out to be weapons and a map of heaven. Mother, what's going on? Lu Mengqi hurriedly approached, and Mrs. Lu broke open and held Lu Mengqi's hand. Today, the officers and soldiers suddenly surrounded their home, accusing your father of colluding with Han Zhe, colluding with the enemy and betraying the country. Your father has already been imprisoned in court. What? Lu Mengqi was taken aback, everything came too suddenly. Lu Mengqi quickly looked at the crowd, and sure enough, among all the servants, there was no Autumn Mama. You are speechless. How could my father possibly collude with the enemy and betray the country? Lu Yuanche shouted excitedly. Stop talking nonsense, take them all away and put them in jail. Chapter 9. Did she die? You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the prison cell, Lu Mengqi saw Lu Zilan. Dad, what's going on here? Dad didn't know, but suddenly Song Huazhong reported in the court, accusing me of colluding with the enemy and betraying the country, and intending to rebel. He still held witness against Lu Guoren. Lu Guoren. Did Dad say Uncle Lu? Asked Lu Jinghan. Yes, Lu Guoren said I gave him the map of the Heavenly Dynasty and there was my seal on the list of weapons purchased. Lu Zilan also couldn't figure out why his life-saving benefactor had falsely accused him. At this moment, Lu Mengqi completely understood. Dad, I'm afraid when you were assassinated that day, this situation had already been set up, and someone wanted to put our whole family to death. Lu Mengqi understood that Autumn's mother was sent by the Empress Dowager, and it must be that Lu Guoren was from the Song family, and Song Huazhong was the Empress Dowager's younger brother. This was a joint effort to kill the entire Lu family. These people are bullying too much. Lu Yuanche excitedly went to pat the prison door. Yuanche, don't waste your efforts. Now, we need to think carefully. By the way, father and mother, it was Autumn's mother who poisoned me. Autumn's mother is from the Empress Dowager. Lu Mengqi looked at Lady Landing. Cheer, what's going on? Mrs. Lu looked surprised. Master Qingxiu said that I was poisoned 6 months ago, and Autumn's mother was the one who came to the Prime Minister's mansion at that time. Besides, there was an accident in the mansion today, and Autumn's mother happened to be absent, said Lu Mengqi. This morning in autumn, my mother said that my grandson was sick and needed to go home. I also gave him some silver. The time you were poisoned was when my mother came to our house. No wonder the doctor in front of us didn't notice, did she? Mrs. Lu covered her mouth. It's the Empress Dowager, she wants to kill Cheer. Cruel, so cruel. It takes my son's life. Lu Zilan said angrily. That day, I actually advised you to take medicine. Lu Jinghan cried as she almost killed her sister again. It was on that day that I stole the medicine and poured it into the flower pot. It was only then that I discovered it. Sister, don't blame yourself too much, I'm not doing well. Lu Mengqi patted Lu Jingyan's shoulder. Dad, Mom, Sister, Yuanche, let's not be too anxious at the moment. I believe the Emperor will find a way to save us. Can the Emperor confront the Empress Dowager openly? Lu Zilan was still somewhat worried. Don't worry, he will have a way. Lu Mengqi knew that the Emperor must be very anxious at this moment. After all, if the Prime Minister's mansion falls, the Emperor will lose a very important chess piece. Yo, Lu Mengqi, is the family still deeply in love here? Song Yuyan walked in. Why did you come? Lu Mengqi looked at Song Yuyan with a nonchalant expression. I just hate to see you like this, never mind, always self-righteous. Now we are all prisoners, dying people, still like this. Song Yuyan originally wanted to mock Lu Mengqi, but her indifferent appearance made her angry. So what about the prisoner under the stairs? The Emperor's engagement is still there, but if it's not guaranteed, I can go out the day after tomorrow. What you're thinking is quite beautiful. Someone, open the cell for me and drag Lu Mengqi out. What do you want? Both Lu Zilan and Mrs. Lu stepped forward to stop them, but were all stopped by the guards. Song Yuyan raised her hand and slapped it, leaving Lu Mengqi confused for a moment. Song Yuyan. After Lu Mengqi finished speaking, he slapped her hard, and Song Yuyan's face suddenly had a few more palm prints. Lu Mengqi, dare you hit me? Song Yuyan looked incredulous. If I hit you, it would be a capital offense anyway. Are you still afraid of adding insult to injury? As Lu Mengqi raised his hand, he slapped Song Yuyan again. This time, Song Yuyan's face was swollen, and the Lu family and guards were shocked. Lu Mengqi pressed Song Yuyan to the ground, slapping him one after another, making it impossible for Song Yuyan to fight back. Hurry up, someone, pull her away from me. Song Yuyan roared. The guards quickly stepped forward and lifted Song Yuyan. She was covered in chaos, with angry eyes that wanted to kill Lu Mengqi. She suddenly pushed Lu Mengqi towards the pillar of the prison door, and Lu Mengqi's head collided violently, turning black in front of her and falling to the ground. The guards quickly stepped forward and placed their hands on Lu Mengqi's breathing area, losing their breath. Dead, dead, the guard panicked. Qi air. Mrs. Lu, Lu Zilan, and Lu Jinghan struggled, but the guards didn't dare to let go. Lu Yuanche bit the guard's hand, and the guard let go. Lu Yuanche ran to confirm with Lu Mengqi. Dad, Mom, second sister is really dead. Lu Yuanche cried bitterly. Pull him back. Song Yuyan ordered. Cheer, cheer. Mrs. Lu lost control of her emotions and passed out. Mother, mother. Lu Jinghan and Lu Yuanche snuggled up next to Mrs. Lu. Madam. Lu Zilan felt like the sky and the earth were crumbling at this moment. Mengqi suddenly felt palpitations in the prison and died suddenly. You went back to the emperor and the empress dowager. Also, throw her at the mass grave. Song Yuyan finished speaking with a sinister look in her eyes and left with a smile. Chapter 10. Illusion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Young master, Miss Lu has lost her breath. Jin Xing found Mengqi in the hillside ditch, and she was thrown directly into the outskirts of the city by the guards. Because she was too afraid, she did not go to the mass grave. She will wake up, Jin Xing, let me come. After Leng Zimo finished speaking, he bent down and looked at Mengqi, whose face was pale. His eyes were so gentle, as if caring for a rare treasure. He gently held Mengqi in his arms and walked slowly. Mengqi, Mengqi. A calm voice echoed for a long time. Who? Mengqi followed the sound as she walked through the large house in front of her, with white gauze floating everywhere. She saw a barrier, and behind it, there seemed to be someone sitting. The person was wearing a blue long shirt and sitting cross-legged behind the barrier. Mengqi, you have finally arrived. The old man's voice was low, stroking his beard. Who are you? Mengqi wanted to step forward and look at the person behind the barrier, but his footsteps were disobedient, as if he had been sucked in by some object and could only stop. It doesn't matter who I am, I know where you came from and how you should go back, the old man said firmly. Is it true? Mister, what can I do to go back? Mengqi was very excited. Although there were too many doubts, she was more eager to know how to go back to 2023 because there were still many things that she needed to handle. The situation in the Heavenly Dynasty is turbulent. Only by pacifying the 4 countries and unifying the world can everything return to its rightful place. The old man disappeared after speaking. Mengqi couldn't feel the binding force anymore. After rushing to the barrier, there was no one there. Your Majesty, is what Song Yuyan just said true? Are you treating me only because of the will of the late emperor? Just because I am the daughter of the Lu family? The woman knelt on the ground, crying and looking at the emperor. Her voice was weak, trembling, and incredulous, asking the emperor. Who is it? Who is talking to the emperor? Mengqi approached and saw that this woman was actually herself. No, she is the second miss of the Lu family, the Mengqi of this era. Since you have heard it all, you should understand that there is no such thing as emotions in an imperial family. Lin Shufeng turned his back to Mengqi, and how could he have been overheard by Mengqi for deceiving Song Yuyan just now? Since that's the case, just make it clear that we can exchange interests and not mix any emotions. There is a beautiful person, clear and graceful. Encountering each other meets my wishes. What the emperor said was all deceiving me. Mengqi said with a bitter smile. It's just acting. Lin Shufeng knew that Lu Zilan had a tough personality. Unless Mengqi nodded, even if he resisted the order, he would ruin his engagement. So at that time, he saw Lu Zilan not far away, so he did a scene that moved Mengqi's heart. Since ancient times, there has been a surplus of love and hatred, and the origin of good dreams is the easiest to wake up. However, since that's the case, this engagement can be cancelled. At this moment, Mengqi felt like a knife had been inserted into his heart, and the person who inserted the knife was the one who had once been moved. The engagement cannot be cancelled. Unless you want to see the Lu family's entire family executed. Lin Shufeng's tone was firm and cold. Kneeling on the ground, Mengqi's face was pale, with no trace of blood on it. His body was shaking and he clenched his hand, his eyes filled with melancholy. The emperor, Mengqi, also clenched her fist at this moment. She wanted to punch her, but her fist went through and they disappeared. My head hurts so much. At this moment, Mengqi has a severe headache. Fragments constantly flash in his mind, and laughter fills the air. All of them are the voices of women welcoming guests, warblers and swallows, a group of unfamiliar faces, men and women in front of him. It was dark, the house was gone, and both men and women had disappeared. Mengqi saw a familiar figure walking towards the lake. Mengqi followed her, and the woman cautiously boarded a boat, seeming to be looking for something. Suddenly, a person appeared behind her and pushed the woman directly into the lake. Only then did Mengqi realize that it was himself who had fallen into the water. The person who pushed her into the water suddenly turned around and stared at her fiercely. Mengqi was startled. "Is it Song Yuyan?" I saw her approaching step by step, her eyes fierce, and she fiercely grabbed Mengqi's neck and said fiercely, "If you find out, then you must die, you must die." Mengqi wanted to push her away, but he was powerless and his hands were powerless, allowing her to pinch his neck. Mengqi's face changed from white to red, feeling like he was about to lose his breath. "Song. Song, hand." Mengqi spoke with difficulty, but his voice was too low. "You must die, you must die." Song Yuyan pinched even harder. Mengqi felt like he was really going to die. Leng Zimo looked at Mengqi lying in bed, her face turning pale, her breathing weak, and a thin sweat rising from her forehead. Her eyes moved slightly, followed by a slight movement of her head. Her mouth also moved, and her throat made a cough-like sound. She seemed to want to speak, but couldn't utter a word.